My name's Alec. I run a platform called Intern. If you don't know about it, please find out about it. Our social media is at the bottom for anyone who hasn't been doing this all night when people have been sharing their social media details. Follow everyone, please. It's what stuff like this is for. So we believe that young people are the future, young people like you guys, as Derek says, people from all backgrounds. We look to empower them, invest in them, and trust that innovative nature that kind of keeps all these ideas fresh. This is something that I firmly believe the industry, any industry outside of the creative industries and within it, is always going to need. It needs new ideas, and those ideas come from people like you guys, not crusty old people who've had their day, present company excluded. So we started life as an independent magazine, but now it's more of a sort of variety of content, online, offline, support and training for and by you guys. So wherever possible, we get you involved in the delivery of it. It's a community-driven thing. And yeah, as I said, all just trying to help each other out and stop people getting taken advantage of. So in print form, we look like this. If you haven't already got this magazine, buy it. It is 20% off on our online store right now, packed full of interesting stuff that will help you. I'm not saying it's going to help you get a job necessarily, but it will certainly help you. We also have a website. We're doing a lot of sort of like longer form editorial on there now, well worth the check out. But yeah, loads of stuff again that's telling a variety of stories, variety of perspectives, and always coming back to that idea of how you sort of make that transition into the world of work from whatever background you come from. We also have events. Sometimes they get a little bit sweary. You can also buy this on a tote bag if you're so inclined. And give a lot of workshops, not always to rooms exclusively full of white people, I like to think, but this was the photograph I looked the youngest in, so tough titty. So what I'm gonna try and impress on you today is this idea that you are the boss. Whether you end up working for yourself, whether you end up working for someone else, we live in an age, particularly in the creative industries, where there are no jobs for life. You don't have to be intimidated by that thought of picking something and being stuck with it. Doesn't happen like that anymore, so we're all free to do what we want. Fantastic. You're the only person that sets the boundaries of your career. That might sound like a grand sweeping statement. It might sound unrealistic. Believe me, this is fundamentally where it all starts, so do not let preconceived ideas of what a career looks like, what somebody else's career looks like. Don't be intimidated by the fact that someone like Diane's up here is working with crazy brands. That's not to say that you can't. That's not to say that your journey will be a little bit different. Success is not how we measure ourselves against other people. It's how we measure ourselves against ourselves. Okay, so don't worry about what other people are doing. Use it as inspiration. You'll all face obstacles and make mistakes. That's absolutely fine. Nobody gets it right first time. We've already seen examples of this tonight. A lot of people in here, Charlie, great example, start in one field, move into something completely different. Again, that's now something that industry, clients are slowly starting to wake up to, that if we as education institutions produce 90 identical graphic designers, where's the value in that? There is none. The value now is in having an individual take on things, a different set of skills, specialisms, and interests to other people. So all of that stuff is valuable. An example I'm going to use quite conveniently is Kate Moros. Started, the first kind of major commission was as an illustrator. Now the studio works on all kinds of stuff. One of the most interesting, they recently did a takeover of our Instagram account. One of the projects that they shared was this.
Welcome to the MTV Movie and TV Awards!
Here are the nominees for Show of the Year.
Show of the Year. Atlanta.
Black people, man, they don't know how to have fun.
I really disagree.
Stranger Things.
So yeah, all stuff like that. The entire sort of creative side of those awards, sort of top to tail. So it isn't just illustration anymore. It's way bigger than that. It's way bigger than I'm sure they probably give themselves credit for week on week, and it keeps growing. And that's in part through just putting yourself out there and saying yes more often, as we've heard already tonight. and then finding the people like you guys who are out there who have those specific sets of skills and interests and backgrounds to come in and make that happen. So please don't feel like a career choice has to be final. That's something that personally for me put me off making any hard decisions and sort of engaging in what it was I was going to do for years, because I kind of felt like sort of certainly the words I got from my parents and their generation was that you kind of had one job for life, you trained for that, you kind of almost by the time you do your GCSEs, you kind of know what you want to do, right? Are you going to do sciences? Are you going to do art? And it kind of, the path goes from there. Not the case anymore, particularly with the skill set that each of you will have. You're adaptable, so don't be daunted by that. Use that as a kind of a base that you can trade off, and you can kind of move, you can kind of work in whatever field you like. Pretty much every business on the planet is going to need a creative department at some point. So why not go and find the work in places that interest you? So play to those skills, interests, and beliefs. Don't worry about other people's skills, interests, and beliefs. Make sure the work that you're doing suits you. Do we have anyone who can speak Japanese or read Japanese? It's called ikigai. Not a very good Japanese accent, but I'm not going to try one because I'm being filmed from multiple angles. So ikigai is a really interesting theory, and it's a quick exercise I would encourage you to all have a crack at. Don't worry about jotting it down now. Just search this on the internet. Looks like this. And it's this idea that you can find some kind of life balance somewhere in the middle of that. So if the 4 things that you're kind of putting into this equation are things that you love, things that the world needs, things that you can be paid for, and things that you're good at, the idea is if you can get all 4 of those in there, and it'll take some soul searching, believe me, I've tried. If you kind of get little overlaps of just a couple of these, you're going to get that kind of imbalance long term. So this is an idea of, or a kind of an effort to try and look at what might look like a sustainable career for you. Now, none of this is final, believe me. You could rip this up and do it again 4 weeks later and get something totally different. That's fine. None of these things are a silver bullet. It's just a little suggestion of something that you can try to maybe get to what Marlin describes as that magic, that kind of finding that thing that has all those different elements that keeps you really engaged, gives you that passion, gives you that drive, and brings home the bacon, because we all need the bacon. As an entrepreneur or freelancer, mindfulness is vital. As things are going to get tense, it doesn't matter if you work in a studio, it doesn't matter if you're freelance, stuff gets heavy. So again, this idea of having some kind of strategy like that where you find something that gives you that balance is nice. It means you don't have to go and stand under a waterfall. There's probably a face crying above this. If we're looking at a cross section of the industry, but you know, another gift for another day. I've got to work that in though. And in a world dictated by corporate greed, and this is very much how I kind of try and find that balance in what I do. It's really nice to feel what you do has purpose, that it's bigger than you, that it's doing some good in the world. I think there's a generation, I was going to say we, but that's unfair, your generation. This is becoming something that's, it's part of the conversation. You don't want to just be making shit for horrible people. We don't want to work with, what was the phrase we use? Arseholes. We don't want to work with arseholes. Don't want to make any more money for arseholes. We want to make money for nice people and help nice people do nice stuff. We don't want to feel like this little guy. Stick with it, stick with it. That's not how we want to feel. So here's a good example of that. I met earlier this week with a second-year graphic design student from Manchester School of Art. And she's telling me about this project that she's starting. It goes a little bit something like this. Okay, so the messaging's not super clear, but it's like 2 weeks old, so we'll give her a break on that. Please, please, please follow her on Instagram, direct message her if you want to see. So it's all about Fresh, is about getting more diversity and more representation in university education. Second year student, she has never been taught by a person of colour. She's never had one come in as a visiting lecturer. It's all white people, and she doesn't understand it. It doesn't make this kind of idea and this sort of prospect of getting into the world of the work any less intimidating, so she's trying to do something about it. So if that sounds like something that you want to be part of, please get involved in that. Moving swiftly on, play to your skills, interests, and beliefs. Do what Katie's doing in that case. Try and find projects that make you excited, that you can showcase what you do, but you can also showcase who you are. Again, Charlie talking about this idea that when you're working with people, they're not just hiring you purely for your skills. You're hiring a person. You're going to pick the people that really fit in with what you're all about, what makes you tick, that's going to be easy to get on with. So if you can communicate that through your work, you're going to make it really easy for employers to feel good about you being part of their team. And always, always, always know that your perspective has value. It doesn't matter what that perspective is. It doesn't matter if you feel like you're not coming from a place of privilege or a place that is better represented than you are. Your perspective has value. Nobody can take that away from you, right? And you can always trade off that. And I'm not saying you have to make that what you're all about, but it should never, ever, ever be at detriment to what it is you're trying to do and what the work you're trying to put out in the world. Soft skills is a little industry term for you. Things that you probably wouldn't consider to be skills at all. Are you personable? Can you work in a team? Are you easy to get on with? Are you well organized? Things like this are being chased now and valued by various industries far more than they used to be. So stuff like just being a decent human being actually gets you places. Diversity, it's a shame that people need a kind of financial incentive to kind of look at diversity positively, but then again, we live, unfortunately, in an industry that's predominantly male and predominantly white. But it isn't solely a moral argument anymore, so for all the naysayers out there, the people who want to keep the system just the way they like it so they can keep their nice big cars and their big fences to keep everyone out, they can't do that shit anymore because there are financial incentives, financial opportunities proven that revolve around diversity. So it's not just poor old Winona. One of my favorite examples of this is this guy who's a mathematician who set up this test, right? And he had two sets of mathematical equations. One of them, super, super powerful equations, but all quite similar. So the structure quite similar, the way they solve problems similar. Second test group, which that group was up against, far more diverse set of equations, but a lot less powerful. So he sets those two up, feeds them the same mathematical problems, sees which one solves it quicker. The less powerful, more diverse group did it every single time. The reason that happens is because they're attacking the problem from different angles. So they get around the problem a lot quicker. You transpose that to a professional environment, whether it's creative or not. The argument for a while in the startup industry was that if you fill a room full of people who are similar, have similar upbringing, similar interests, they will get to work together quicker. It'll be smoother. We can scale up nice and fast. Long term, you're shooting yourself in the foot. So businesses are starting to understand that this is the best way. There's a real there's pressure from their stakeholders all of a sudden to start doing this. So do not feel like if you're from a minority that you're disadvantaged here. The pendulum, although it's swinging slow, it is swinging in this direction. And that's a good thing. So be proud of your perspective, confident in your skills, and don't be afraid to fake it till you make it. We've touched on this already tonight. Everyone's at it. Yeah. Everyone. If you want to win some work, you tell them you can do all manner of crazy stuff, and then likely they only ask you to do like 40% of that, and then you learn stuff on the way. Great. If you think people aren't up to that, think again. So please, please, please don't be afraid to overpromise. You'll work it out. Or you won't. It's not the end of the world. And most importantly, and to finish on, do not wait for permission. Do not wait for somebody to tell you to apply to work with them. Don't wait for somebody to do that project that you've been thinking about and just haven't kind of found the motivation to do. Just do it, get it out there. Like Dimes was saying, if you're not working on client work, work on personal projects that mean something to you, that show people what it is that you want to do and what it is you can do. Do not sit around and wait for something to happen, because you'll be waiting an awful long time. I promise you. You are the boss. Please, please, please remember that. Don't be daunted. Just get out there, do things. You can find us on internmag.com, where you can buy all that lovely stuff, and you can help us tell more stories, help more people. Keep an eye out on what we're doing. We're going to do some more stuff in London soon. Goodbye from me, and goodbye from Nicolas Cage on the back of a Suzuki.